Well, it is such an honor to be here with you today. Just as Michael was talking about, the opportunity out there is ubiquitous, right? There's lots and lots of opportunity. Now, what if the only thing standing between you and doubling or tripling your revenue is that you sound like everyone else? I actually believe that that's one of the greatest risks and the greatest threats to our industry as fractional CFOs. With the rise of AI coming and threatening portions of our job, VC firms and PE firms also coming in and buying up and offshoring labor, driving down cost, and new fractional CFOs joining every single day, the opportunity is there and people are flocking to it. So my mission today is I want to help you rise above this sea of sameness that we're experiencing in our industry, to build a company that you're really proud of just by being you, not just to win clients, right? But to build a legacy that you can take your experience, your perspective, and your values and boldly show up. Now, before I get into that, I want to take a moment to say thank you to my friend Michael King. Now, I've got about 1 million reasons why I don't belong here and I shouldn't be here, but I've got 3 really good ones of why I am. One is the grace of God. I believe I deserve no good thing except for the fact that He allows me to participate in all that I get to do. 2 is my incredible, supportive wife, who is actually here in the back row. I wouldn't be able to be here if it wasn't for her love and support. And 3, the people that I have linked arms with, like Michael King. Now, 2 years ago, we joined, just as he said, a cute little 6-figure firm. Around $500,000 a year is what we were doing. And, well, we were really trying to find our way. Fast forward, it's been 2 years. We're now a $2 million firm, and we've grown from 6 people to now 18 people, and we've got another 2 more that we're hiring right now, and we feel like we're just now getting started. You see, those ideas and the collaboration of the group that Michael was just mentioning, the elite group, is, well, to us, it's worth hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars the way we continue to grow. It's provided an incredible foundation for us. And more than that, it's changed the trajectory of our firm and of us as people. I remember one time early in the journey, Jim Emmerich, whom you all heard from yesterday, we weren't close at this time. It was very early, and he looked at me dead in the eyes and he said, "Hungry dogs run fast, and I don't think you're hungry enough." I'm like, are you kidding me? What, like a dagger to my heart. If I had any ego whatsoever, it is assuredly on the floor. But he was right. I wasn't hungry enough, and I wasn't living up to my potential. And like, where else can you get that honesty? Who's going to be able to tell you a truth like that no matter how hard it hurts, he's right, and it called me up. Now, I don't believe that Jim said those things to embarrass me, and, well, at least I hope not. We'll have to settle that later, Jim, but after hearing about you talk about your deadlifts, I don't know if I really want to be on your bad side. But he didn't do that to embarrass me. He did that to call me up, to be able to play at the level of my potential. And that is what exactly that group has done for me and my business partner, Cameron. It's called us up to be able to become the leaders that we know we can be. So I just want to make a quick plug, and Michael has not asked me to do this. He's not paid me to do this. I don't get any kickbacks on this whatsoever. I just want to say that if you meet the qualifications for it, I would just consider taking a look at it, because it has been something that's been very foundational for us. But I want you to know this, that none of this works unless you do. That there's no silver bullets, there's no magic pills that makes all of the hard work go away. This actually requires a lot of hard work, commitment, and just taking massive action towards your goal every single day. So thank you, Michael. I'm so thankful to be here and happy to be a part of what you're doing. I think it's really special. So enough of that sappiness. For a moment, let me take you back to where this whole journey started for me. I was 2 months into a brand new job where I was a new analyst early in my career when the CFO left, and suddenly I was it. All of the modeling, the reporting, owning the finance function fell to me. Now, thankfully, at the time I had an owner, the boss, who looked at me and he said, well, let's see what you got, Jay. Let's see how you can do this. And that became one of the biggest blessings in my life. But at the time, I'd never managed a budget. I'd never owned an accounting and finance department. I've never sat at the leadership table to be able to, take on the different cash flow questions that are hanging in the balance. But I knew I wanted to be great, and I knew I wanted to earn that seat at the table, so I gave it my best shot. And what I learned is, I also thought that this would really give my wife the opportunity to be able to stay at home with our kids and raise our kids where, I could be the sole provider. And so I wanted to give this a shot, and so I went after it. And thankfully, though I needed lots of help, the owner was able to support me with that help. And so, in search of the support that I so desperately needed, I went to the market. And here's where I think my story becomes perhaps a little unique in a room like this, is that I might be the only, or maybe one of a few, that have actually sat on the other side of a CFO sale. Because I didn't really just look into fractional CFOs. I hired 6 of them. And I tried out 4 different accounting solutions to fill our, financial leadership gap. Now, we made a lot of mistakes, and it set us back years. But I learned a lot about, what I liked and what I didn't like. And the challenge that I struggled with was, everybody promised the same thing. You can get me increased cash flow and increased profits and help us scale to the next level. But ultimately, I found that so many of them said the same things, that it was very challenging to differentiate what is actually going to be the right choice for us. I remember one time it was a bookkeeping firm who initially gave us a canned report, and it was just that. It was a canned report where they took our QuickBooks data, spit it into their reporting solution, and here was a bunch of balance sheet metrics that weren't going to move the needle for us. To tell us what a great quick ratio you have, right? For a company that had no debt, thank you, that's not actually going to move the needle. We're trying to go beyond this, right? Another time I had a CFO that I was working with who was great in all ways, technical and all of that. However, he showed up to every meeting and he would say, well, Jay, what do you want to talk about today? Well, dang it, that's not going to help me, right? I hired you to lead me, and that's what I need, right? I don't know what I don't know, which is why you're here. And so with each failed engagement, I became more frustrated and more disappointed. And through all of that disappointment, I'm a finance person trying to solve this. Now, imagine a founder who has little or no, formal financial training trying to wade through all of the jargon to figure out who's actually going to be able to support them. And I know that you know this because I'm sure you've seen it, but in a sales call, oftentimes when you have conversations with owners, you ask them one technical question, and sometimes it's not even a technical question, and instantly they're throwing up the white flag. They're saying, I don't know what I don't know, right? Has anybody heard this before in a sales process? I used to hear it maybe 50% of the time, but now I hear it almost every single call. And now, a quick aside, everybody's worried that AI is going to take over, and that might happen. But I had a lot of fun making this picture. So I apologize. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry if we have any friends who are from across the pond today with us. But I hear this so often, and it is just illuminated a massive problem for us. is that it's not just a line that they say, it's a defense mechanism for them. It's that they feel exposed and vulnerable, and so what do? They retreat, and they disappear, and they say, let's hold off for now, let's hold off till maybe next quarter and pick up the conversation there. And why I believe that this is happening is that we're all saying the same thing. Is there sameness in our language? There's sameness in our websites. And that's actually what makes us so easy to commoditize. And worst of all, we're doing it to ourselves. We take the depth of our knowledge and our experience and we bury it in jargon. And so what ends up happening is that prospects choose the cheapest option, well, because we didn't give them a reason not to. And so I want you to write this down, is that price always matters when absent all other reasons. It always matters when absent all other reasons. Now, I recently had the opportunity to become my own buyer, again, not of CFO services, but this time of CMO services. And it was a very interesting process because we really needed some help with our messaging. And I went to the industry and I had something very specific in mind. So I spoke with about 12 to 14 different firms, exhausting and exhaustive, I would say. And all of them sounded exactly the same. And if you know anything about the marketing world, they're saying storytelling is it, and you must, position yourself as the guide and not the hero, and yada, yada, yada. And I knew all of those things, but it's like, how do I now choose who to go with? All of them sounded the same except for one. One stood out amongst the others, and he spoke differently to me. He challenged my thoughts about things. He educated me on what the market what's happening in the market at a macro level with AI, how they're utilizing it, and what the trends are, and how do we make it look like we don't actually use AI and all the rest, right? And he spoke confidently. And as a result, I chose his firm. Now, he cost 2 times more than the next alternative that I was considering. And I was happy to pay it. Mostly because he made it seem like the desired end result that I wanted and that I was so keen to get, that it was actually possible. And I believe that it was possible for us when we worked together. And so I want to ask you a question. How much are you possibly leaving on the table right now from driving your costs down because you think you have to, right? Or because you're competing only on price? Or, better yet, how much are we losing out on deals lost because they go to other people? I want to say me too. This is our shared problem to solve. And so today, I want to help you rise above this sea of sameness, be able to stand out, command the rates that you know that you are worthy of commanding, and be able to create an awesome company built on a brand of being you. Now, Michael, I don't know if you're back there or somewhere around here, but you can hear my voice. You and I both have submarine experience. And while you were on the USS West Virginia, I was on a slightly less prestigious vessel. We'll call this the USS Finding Nemo ride in Disneyland, California. Now, allow me to explain. I'm on a family trip with my wife and my 2 young boys, and my 4-year-old, he's bouncing with excitement. He loves Finding Nemo. And we've waited in line for what feels like forever, and finally it's our turn to jump aboard the vessel. And so I climb on in, and I nestle into my seat, and my knees jam up against the wall in front of me, my wife pressed up against one side, and a stranger's thigh is awkwardly pressed up against my other. I look around, 40 people in here. The hatch is about to close, and before I even have a second to think, my body involuntarily stands up and I scream out, "I can't do this. I have to get out of here." Now all eyes are locked in on me, like dead locked in on me, the only person standing on this packed submarine. And you can imagine in this submarine, as I just mentioned, my legs are jammed up against the wall. Everyone else is. And now it's like budget stadium seating. And for me to be able to exit this thing, you bet, it's like I'm the person in the center of a stadium seating row who's using the bathroom for like the 5th time, and everybody else has got to stand up, and they're all frustrated and annoyed with you. And so as I'm going through this, I find myself, I am shimmying down across every single body. My knees were bumping against each other. Our stomachs are awkwardly rubbing together. I'm just like looking sideways, hoping nobody's looking at me, but I can feel their gaze just going to the depths of my soul, looking at me with disgust. How could you? A grown man abandoning your family and your wife and kids and panicking on the Finding Nemo ride that by the looks of this image doesn't even look like it goes below water. And my son, as I'm making my exit, I hear him in the background, who was previously bouncing with excitement. Now he's screaming, crying, saying, "My dad's gonna fall in the water." My wife is stunned, and I'm just trying to escape. I'm not thinking about my family behind me. I'm not thinking, let me grab one of these kids and rescue them from the horror that they're in, right? I'm just thinking, I've got to get the heck out of here. And so in my pure panic, I left behind a wake of confusion, disappointment, probably some laughter too, as I certainly left my dignity on this, aboard this submarine. But now alone, at a nearby table, I begin to reflect. And what I learned is that when we react from fear, we make pretty poor decisions. Now, I left behind my family. I left my wife overwhelmed. I left my son scared. And I wasn't thinking twice about it. So, why do I share this story? I mean, it's a pretty silly, stupid story and totally embarrassing for me. And I wish that I could say that this was a long time ago. It was actually 6 months ago. So I'm clearly still struggling with this, wearing some scar tissue, and I guess maybe my way of coping is to share it with you all today. No, but I'm sharing this for a couple reasons. Is one, well, our prospects, they're right there with me. And while they might not be running from fear, they might be frozen in fear. Maybe they've had a CPA or a controller and maybe even a CFO burn them in the past, and they're struggling to understand, how is this time going to be different? Or maybe going with you seems just as much of a gamble as going without you. And maybe I end up in the same position I'm in now and I just spent the money for nothing. Maybe, but I also see them where they could also be like me in that they're shimmying down their way as they're going to the market and they're trying to speak with different fractional CFOs, and they're just, at each person, they're trying to just get, okay, is this the person for me? And at each person, they're just begging them, like, make this an easy decision for me. Because this is one of their greatest insecurities, right? On the outside, these owners, they seem successful. They employ people. You know, they are leading folks. They've got a company that people would dream of. But yet on the inside, you and I both know it's a whole nother situation. Because this cash flow thing, oh, it's fundamentals. And they think it is, but they can't seem to get a hold of it. And so they are being exposed with one of their greatest insecurities. That's why they say things like, I don't know what I don't know, because they're trying to physically distance themselves because they know that this is going to expose them. And so they're going to the market with one of their greatest insecurities, and now they're insecure about who to even choose because it all sounds the same, and how do I know this person different from that person, and who's going to be able to deliver for me? And they're just begging for somebody to make this an easy decision, but yet they stay stuck. Now, why do they stay stuck? Well, our brain is constantly sending chemicals and signals to support decision making. Now, there's two main objectives that our brain is constantly sending out, and one of them we're wired for safety. So the first one is get to safety. And the second one is to burn as little energy as possible. So our brains, we want certainty, we want clarity, and we want the path of least resistance. How is this going to be easy for us? And so when no path is provided, well, we do what's normal. We freeze, we delay, we say, let's wait till next quarter, let's hold off for now and maybe circle up with me in a year from now. It's not logical, and it's not because they don't like you, and it's not because they don't need the help. It's their brain chemistry, and they're stuck in a loop. And recently I sat through a talk by a guy named Dean Menudo, and it's kind of transformed how I think about this stuff. And so I wanted to share with you today what I learned at that. And so first is, it's called the 4Ds, and our brains are constantly looking for difference, right? Our five senses are constantly scanning the environment, looking for difference, so that we can identify, is there a threat that we need to respond to? So it brings us to our second D, which is danger. Is there danger that I must respond to? If there is, now a decision must be made. Do I fight back? Do I flee? How must I be safe, right? And if we don't have a clear path forward, it brings us to our fourth D, which is do nothing. In fact, 40 to 60% of sales conversations end up in doing nothing. Like, that sounds wild to me, right? Because for us, when we lose out on a sale, we're like, it's almost like you think that they broke up with you or they're choosing someone else, right? It's like they're now an ex or something, right? Like, we messed up the process, which is probably true, but so much of it ends in them just doing nothing because they are stuck and they don't know the right path forward. And unfortunately, they stay there unless, one, there's too much pain to where they legitimately can't do anything else, but they have to hire you. But you and I both know that at that point, cash is tighter, right? Maybe the company's bigger, like has more debt, or the opportunity's gone. Or, so they stay there unless there's too much pain that they have to hire you, or someone interrupts that spiral for them. Now, does this sound familiar for anybody? Has anybody had people, perfectly fit clients, and you're repeating back the same exact thing that they told you, and they're like, I need forecasting, and I need this, and I need that, and you're like, okay, cool, yeah, I do forecasting, I do, KPI design, and I do all these things, and they say, oh, that's great, I'm so glad you said that. That would be really helpful, and then they ghost you. Am I the only one who's dealt with this before? Like, can we just all be honest that this is a problem that we all face? And so today, I want to show you 3 ways that my company, Prosper, is intentionally standing out. Some of this is going to feel prescriptive, and I actually mean for it to be that way. And other bits are, they're going to be a little bit more of how my business partner and I, Cam, like to do business. And so I may try to call that out whenever I notice that. But some of it, I very much mean for it to be prescriptive. So I just gave you the 4 Ds. Now I'm going to talk about the 3 Cs. And so the first C that we're going to talk about is conviction. Would you guys like to have the other two right now? Too bad. Not going to do it. You'll have to wait. So conviction. Has anybody here ever heard of, it's like a parable of the humble heart surgeon? Awesome. Well, this is going to be great. I hope. So there are two surgeons. They both went to top medical school. They've both saved countless lives, and truly they're world class. Now their patients, well, they're not surgeons. Not at all, not even close. And they have the tall task of choosing who to trust with their lives, right? Like, stakes couldn't be higher. Well, the humble one, well, she says things like, we've got a lot of really good options out there, and well, I would just love to be considered, and well, it's complicated, and it depends, and I don't know, I don't want to overpromise too much here, right? She's the best in the world, yet she's almost like apologizing for existing. Well, the second one, well, she says things like, I've done this 1,000 times. You're in the best place that you could possibly be for this type of procedure. Now, I promise that you're going to be stronger, more active, more healthy, and more engaged in life on the other side of this because my team is going to take excellent care of you. Right? She speaks with confidence, conviction. And guess who gets chosen? I know who I'm choosing 100% of the time, right? Every single day of the week, twice on Sundays, and I know who you're choosing too. Right? Like, my life is in your hands. I want to know that 100% certainty that I'm going to wake up on the other side of this for my family because they're depending on me. So please make this an easy decision for me. And I want to ask you, what happens if the best in the world don't own their performance like this? People die, or they have lasting ailments, or they don't recover, and they don't get to be there for their family. Like in this situation, the stakes could not be higher. And why is it that it seems so obvious in this parable? And yet for us, we can so often find ourselves being that humble heart surgeon. We're sitting on decades of experience, and we're actually the difference between businesses being able to thrive or to fail, where jobs are created or jobs are lost, right? Where legacies could either be cemented for generations to come, or they could vanish into thin air. And all because we're too quiet, and we want to play small, or it feels uncomfortable. And if that's the case, then people actually go elsewhere, maybe to less skilled, less integrous, fractional CFOs, or they don't get the help that they need because they go to the market and they aren't sure who to go with, and yet they don't get that help and their business fails and they have to lay people off and maybe their marriage falls apart. And now we're going down that rabbit hole, but that's actually a reality for many folks, and that we actually get to play a role where we can do something about that. So I want to say something, that our meekness is not serving our audience or our clients. It's actually costing them. It's costing them a lot. So I want you, if you believe that you might be a good fit for a client, I want you to say it, right? If you believe that you can help somebody, I want you to own it. As a matter of fact, can I have everybody just stand up for a second? And I know so many of you are thinking, is it another Kajong? Could we be doing it? I wish. Not right now. I want to ask you a couple questions, and I want you to really check in on yourself here. and be honest. If you believe that it's possible to save someone's business or for you to be able to save a business by working with you, I want you to remain standing. I don't think I saw anybody sit down. That's good. Now, if you believe that a client might be in better hands with you than anyone else, keep standing. This is good so far. Nobody sat down. That's great. Now, last question here is, if you know that you know that you know that you're going to show up for somebody more than anybody else will, stay standing. Now, if you're standing right now, you have an obligation to show up with boldness. You have an obligation to show up with boldness. Because you're all telling me right now that you believe that all of what I just said is possible, that you can save a business, that they are in better hands with you, and that you're going to show up more for them than anybody else. Now, if you did sit down, I'm going to ask you to keep standing for a second because I really want to drive this point home. But if you did sit down, I'm going to ask you to stand up again and just tell you, that's okay, let's have a different kind of conversation. But it's your job to get to that place, to build that conviction, to build that confidence. Because when you believe it, they'll believe it too. Now, I recently came across a keynote of Ed Milet was giving, and he gave a quote that has just absolutely gripped me and changed the way that I think about this. He says that average salespeople try to get people to believe what they're saying, but the great ones, they focus on getting people to believe they believe what they're saying. And so I want you to hear what I'm saying right now, and allow me to say this in a different way. I'm not on this stage right now trying to get you to believe everything I'm saying today. But you better believe this. You're going to leave here knowing that I believe this with everything in me. Otherwise, I wouldn't have flown halfway across the country, spent 2 days away from building my firm, unless I believed that I had a message that would bless you, encourage you, and inspire you to stand up for the millions of businesses that need the best in the world to own their performance like this. I believe it with everything in me. And it must show up in the way that we talk, because that's what creates influence. They don't have to believe everything you say, and they likely won't, right? You start throwing out, I'll save you 10x on this and all that, it goes right out there, right out the other ear. They need to know that you believe it. It's not something we must just believe quietly. We must say it out loud and own it. Thank you for participating. You may have a seat. Appreciate that. Have you ever had your subtext be way bolder? Like your retelling of a situation to a trusted friend is like way spicier than you are? Like, here's what I mean. I would get onto a closing call and I've laid out the roadmap with the prospect and I'm like, there's no way he's not going to work with us, right? Like, this is going to be easy and it's awesome, and well, why wouldn't he, right? And then, bam, hits me with an objection. And I should have seen it come in, right? Like, I know all the objections, but instead I get cotton mouth, and now I start sweating profusely, and I start stuttering over my words, and I say, you know what, yeah, you might be right, I don't know what I'm doing, and that's a fair point, and I probably should quit what I'm doing and try to go work for somebody else, but at this point, I'm probably unemployable. Well, if you know where to find me, right? And I sheepishly kind of back out of the call. But the second I end that call, I'm giving my business partner, Cameron, a call, and I'm saying, Cameron, you're not going to believe what this guy said. He thinks he's hiring a CPA for $40,000 a year for full time. Here's 10 reasons why that doesn't work for him. He's not going to make sense, but also another 5 for why it's not going to work for where he's trying to go and what he's trying to do. He's like, yeah. You told him all that, right? Well, not like that. And the truth is that we're all guilty of that. right? I hate when the guy from call number 1 shows up. I love when call number 2 guy shows up. Like, he's a lot more confident. How do I get him into call number 1? That would be awesome. And the reality is I struggled with being bold. And the reason why I did is because I didn't want to make it all about me. But the irony of that is the second we don't do something because we don't want to, the second I don't do something because I don't want to make it all about me, I just made it all about me. I just made it all about my feelings. Because I just said that my feelings are more important than serving this person well. And that's a painful reality. That's hard. Because showing up boldly and saying some of these things, it's uncomfortable. So here's what it really started to click for me is that our boldness, when I show up bold, that's actually in service to my clients, despite how uncomfortable it makes me feel. Because if it means that more businesses get saved, more jobs get created, more marriages stay intact, and more legacies are cemented, then heck yeah, sign me up for that every single day of the week. I'll be bold for that. Why wouldn't I be bold for that? And actually, I believe all of those things are possible by working with me. Then I want to be scared of how bold I can be. Because if that's possible, then I want that because I want impact. And so it must show up in how we talk, despite how uncomfortable it makes us feel. And so I want to just provide you with a little bit of application for how this shows up in our discovery call. So at some point in the call, whether, sometimes it hits after initial pleasantries, sometimes it turns later in the call after doing some solid discovery with them. And we say something like this. Hi, prospect. Just like you're looking for the right vendor, we're also looking for the right fit client. People who are serious about their growth and have a compelling event in the future that they're trying to go towards. Now, we're not the right fit for everyone, and we're not even trying to be. But for those we are the right fit for, we're the best in the world at what we do. And then I like to introduce some stakes. Because you and I know this as from a statistic standpoint, but I like to tell them, right? The number one reason why businesses fail is because of poor cash flow management, and that seems obvious, and you need cash flow to be able to grow your business, but I'm talking less about the cash flow and talking more about the management. Because poor and cash flow are not the reason, it's the management of the of the cash flow, right? And so I pause for a second and I say, that's on you and me as owners. Because 8 out of 10 times that we fail, it's because we didn't steward this one function well. And if the number one reason why businesses fail is because of poor cash flow management, the number one reason why they succeed, it's great cash flow management. And so what is on us, if we're the problem, we're also getting to be a part of the solution. And so everything that we're going to talk about today in this call, I want you to know that we're focused on solving this one problem. And I believe that we're the best in the world at solving it. That's conviction. And I'm not asking you to be arrogant. I'm not asking you to say anything that is untrue. You all just stood up and told me that you believe for your clients, for your ideal audience, that you believe you are the best fit for them and that you can save businesses. Why wouldn't you show up this way? This is confidence rooted in who we are, who we serve, and ultimately what we stand for. It's going to naturally attract the right people that we want to work with, and it's going to filter out the wrong, right? This is our way of interrupting the spiral that those people are in and speaking to them with clarity and speaking to them with conviction. First was conviction. We need to interrupt the spiral that they're in. Next, we need to show them the path for how they're going to get there. So this next one is clarity. And this is clarity of scope and process. Now, Michael talks a lot about scope adherence, so I'm not going to belabor that point anymore, and he's got a lot of great content on it. I actually want to lean into something that I think is a little bit overlooked at times, because the framework of everything we're talking about today is a client saying, I don't know what I don't know. And so we've interrupted that with speaking with conviction. Now we need to show them the path forward. I recently came across a quote that I really liked by Seth Godin, and I think it summarizes some of what we do really well. Now, the quote is much longer, and I've kind of paraphrased some thoughts here, but he says, advice isn't the hard part. The art is creating the conditions for people to choose to act on the advice. Right? Like, our prospects are not starving for input alone. They're actually drowning in it. Right? Like, there's absolutely endless input out there from, ChatGPT or LinkedIn gurus or podcasts. The problem is they're drowning in it, and they're stuck, and they're unable to move forward because there's so much, and they don't know who to trust and what's the right path. They need a path that they can follow, that they can find themselves in. And this changed for me probably a year ago or so, is that I was seeing rumblings of, I guess, what has now become some of this talk today is that so much of what we do in fractional CFO space is we go from firefighting to firefighting. We're just constantly solving the next thing. The problem is that the client is often leading that relationship and leading the engagement. And if they're saying, I don't know what I don't know, they don't know what the problem is, and they certainly don't know what the solution is. And so we have moved our business from being a client-led, what I would call a client-led engagement, to a client-informed engagement. So we've created a process that's going to create those conditions that you see here for them to be able to choose to act on the advice that we're giving them. And for our company, I'm just going to show you examples of what we do, and this is how it appears for us. It's going to be different for you. And I'm going to move through this quickly because it's not important what's on the screen. I'm just trying to provide you examples for how we talk about it at our company. So we believe at Prosper CFO that our philosophy is that every business needs a finance function that is built on 4 key things, right? So we believe every finance function needs clear direction, needs verifiable, airtight data, needs a winning strategy put into action, and then needs a dependable and recurring cadence. And we've got probably 20-something tools or so, all fitting within this framework. And that if you're doing these 4 things really, really well, it's almost impossible to not drive intentional profit and increase cash flow. And so all of our tools within these conditions then get mapped to what we call a proven process. And so again, it's not important what's on the screen for anybody who knows EOS. We've just utilized what they have built as a proven process and built out what we do as part of it, right? And there's probably a lot more that goes on in the background, but this helps people see and map out clear engagements, right? To where they're not in question as to, well, how does this work, and what is this going to look like, and how much of your time do I have, and all the rest. This is clear from the jump that this is our process, this is our meeting cadence, this is how we operate, and we're going to be leading you, and you're going to be conforming to the process by which we're setting, because as you said earlier, I don't know what I don't know, so allow us to be able to help you in that and show you the path forward, because all of the tools and all of the things we're going to do here are actually going to smoke out a lot of the issues that you may be able to communicate, but better than that, the ones that you might not be able to communicate, right? The unit economic problems that you don't even know that you have, well, we've got that built into our framework so that will actually show up exactly as it's supposed to, and we're able to address it to build intentional profit in your company, right? So this helps you steer clear of being a hired gun, right? Where you're just coming in, firefighting, or like spending way too much time with a client, and helping show them that you are the leader and that you can lead them through this process. And that way you become not just another vendor to them, but you actually become a transformational leader to their organization and to them personally. So my challenge to you with this one, like, don't copy what I did. Utilize it in some ways. It has to be fit for you and the size company you're at and where you're at and who you like to serve and all the rest, right? But create your process, map it, visualize it, show your clients or your prospects to be able to say, here's the route forward. All right. Third way that we are intentionally standing out. This is the home stretch. For us, this one is about radical care. This is very much inspired by Unreasonable Hospitality. It's a wonderful book that I highly recommend you check out if you haven't yet. It's by a guy named Will Guidara. And the whole book is how he intentionally goes above and beyond what anybody would expect. He's in a restaurant, but we've applied it to our CFO business, right? We go above and beyond what anybody would ask or expect of just a outsourced CFO and accounting firm to help people feel seen, so they're valued and cared for. And this has just become a decided focal point for us that we're going to build our company after. Because here's the reality of what we all face. AI is accelerating at rampant pace, and it threatens portions of our job, upstream or downstream. PE firms or PE money and VC firms they're buying up firms because they're seeing lots of opportunity, and they're offshoring labor, just driving down cost. And there's potentially lots of fear. What does this look like in the future? And some of that might be justified. And I can't change any of that, and neither can you. But here's what we can do. We can build a brand that's built on something that no AI and no VC firm could ever replicate. It's our heart. It's our care, and ultimately it's our humanity. Because people still buy, and people want connection. We want to show up in moments that matter in meaningful ways. I've been reflecting on something recently. Is that nobody really wants a gift that, one, they didn't know what to do with, or that they certainly don't want now. You feel stuck, right? You then feel bad, throwing it away. I know for me, I had a gift recently that was sitting on my countertop for a couple weeks, and my wife was just begging me. She's like, please do something about this. And I'm like, I can't. It's a gift, right? But I don't want this, and I don't actually even know how to regift this without seeming like the most awkward person. I don't know. I was going to think of something silly, and then I just decided not to. But you get the point. We don't know what to do, and we feel stuck. But when it's meaningful, it lights us up to know that somebody knows our part of the story, or our part of our story in a way that is really touching. Recently, about a year ago, my wife and I went, let me backstep for 1 second. It's about, in our honeymoon phase, we were recently married, going on our honeymoon, and it was just a wonderful time, but there was a very distinct scent going on in the hotel, and it was a great smell. It wasn't bad. It was very pleasant and amazing. And we just kept thinking about it. It's like, I wonder what that is. And so we searched for it for a while. Probably could have called the hotel and they would have told me, but I didn't think of that. And about a year ago, we went on a vacation, my wife and I. It's the first time since we've had our kids. And so we step into the hotel and immediately we look at each other and we say, it's that smell. That's scent. Smell sounds bad. It's a scent. Now, instantly we were brought back to the moment of like that honeymoon season and all of the sweetness of what that was. And it made us think of just like how far we've come. And we had a moment where we were able to reflect on that. Now, no one gave us this moment. We would call this coincidence or a God wink, right? But if somebody knew that part of our story and went through the effort and found a candle and maybe gave it to us, like what would that cost them? Like $5, $10? You're all wrong, it's $100. So no wonder it smelled so great. But the outsized return on meaning that would have given my wife and I. And the moral of the story of why I'm saying this is that we may not know our client's favorite scent. Like that would be so awkward. And don't ask them that. That's not what I'm trying to communicate here with you. But what we can do is that we can listen, we can pay attention, and we can understand, see what matters to them, and we can show up in meaningful ways. And so, when we bring care to that space, we actually get to transform them and to help them believe that life and work and partnership can be so much more. So we've tried to operationalize this a good bit at our firm. So I'm going to provide a couple of examples of what this looks like. We love the serendipitous moments, but we also like the system that's built around it. And so one of the couple examples is after every discovery call, whether they sign up with us or not, I'm sending my prospects my favorite book, which is not 10X book. I just shortened it. It's 10X is easier than 2X. It's probably my favorite business book right now. And it's helped me. And I send them a nice little encouraging note saying, hey, hope this blesses you as much as it's blessed me in my entrepreneurial journey. Because it's part of my mission to see businesses thrive. And so that's my way of doing it. Next, we've got a thank you program. And so we don't actually exchange dollars with our referral partners. Some people do, and it's perfectly fine. We've just created a thank you program on the back end of it. And we're basically running like a mini travel agency underneath our firm, which is like so fun. In that like for two of them, of the potential gifts that we give away, one's like a wine country kind of giveaway. Or getaway for somebody and their spouse to go and do it. Another is like a luxury resort in Austin. Super fun ways for us to do it. And we plan all of it. And so our EAs are like equipped to like be travel agents for like a second, which is just a lot of fun. Next, referral prospecting. I've got my CRM and I've got it every single day, or every single time it tells me who I haven't spoken to in 30 days. And immediately, every time I see that, I'm sending those people encouraging notes, sending them, hey, thinking about you, or like, hey, here's something I learned and I think it might be helpful for you. We're creating a frontline budget for our employees now, so this is taking the idea of what the Ritz-Carlton does. Theirs is $2,000 discretionary budget. We're going to be much less, but it's the thought that counts, and so we're trying to give them the leeway to be able to say, hey, when you hear somebody say they've had a death in the family, or they've had a, engagement, or celebrating an anniversary, or what have you, that we actually get to show up in meaningful ways. Last, we get birthday cookies, so who doesn't like that? Here's what I've learned about all of this, is that if you're interested, it stays with you. It lives in your head, and maybe you do this as like a serendipitous type of thing. But if you're committed, you'll build a system around it. And if you build a system, it'll multiply into your culture. And that's what I am striving to do with this. A culture that you can actually become known for. That sets you apart. That no AI or VC firm can replicate, because I'm throwing money at stuff that has no direct ROI, but dang it, I know it's there. The world might be changing, but we'll always need connection. And so my challenge to you here is, Many of you are great CFOs. You're great at your craft. You can save businesses, you can save jobs and create jobs, but you struggle to stand out. You struggle to tell your story. You struggle to communicate the value because, well, that was me too. And that's why I'm here today. Because the world doesn't need more voices. It needs clearer voices. It needs those who are speaking with conviction. It doesn't need more gimmicks. It needs greater conviction. We need the best in the world to stand out. And before I close, I want to share something with you that I've never shared publicly, and I honestly didn't even tell this to Michael before he asked me to speak on this stage. But 2 years ago, whenever we first joined Elite, we're just dreaming of what's possible. Like, what if we went all in? That we helped enough people that maybe one day that I might be invited to speak at this event. And now, I'm standing in that moment. It's not because of luck. It's because of commitment and showing up every day. And I want you to know that the power of dreaming and working hard, well, it's what got me here, but it's also what can take you where you're meant to be as well. And so I'm inviting you into my crusade, because this is our shared calling. This sea of sameness, it's not going to fix itself. We, the good ones, the ones who are here, who are investing your time, your money to get better at your craft, we, the good ones, must stand up and stand out for the millions of businesses that need us to own our performance. We must reject the humble heart surgeon. Our prospects and clients are desperate for it. Because if we don't, well, someone else or something else might, or maybe the business fails because they don't have quality support to be able to help them. And so my challenge to you today is take one bold step. Live convicted. Become the leader that gets remembered. This isn't just about winning clients. This is about saving businesses. It's about creating jobs, strengthening communities, and cementing legacies. And that's all worth standing out for. Thank you so much for your time. I greatly appreciate it. And if this resonates with you, feel free to come find me. I'll be around today. God bless.